property owners' names, emails, and where the property is. So now I can go to the property, I can email them, or I can call them. There's 85 houses in Waterford that are in foreclosure, tax delinquent. There's different motivations on each one, like tax foreclosure type status, so that they're motivated people. So now I can work that list. She can take any, if Todd's buying a house in Detroit and it's on this street, she can run everything in that zip code, give him all this of all the investors that are out of state that own property there, how many properties they own. She can tell him.
She just did that for me in River Rouge.
Yeah, so now he's got this property that we ran in Flint, right? He's got it under contract. I can have her run who the landlords are that own all the properties, people own a lot of properties. Then I can do an email blast out. So now I can support him. He's the guy that's running up there doing it, but I can support him by doing all that. He has to ask, but I
want you to do that.
Yeah.
Please.
Email me, I'll do it. Seriously.
Yeah.
So
how much she charged for that?
I don't know, it was another seminar that's on the thing, on the videos, but I can connect you directly with her.
And,
it was pretty recent.
And
so
we work for Villa Home, or Villa.com. Villa Home, something like that.
Not quite sure who he works for.
Mark's been an agent for many, many years. Eddie's an agent for Villa, with Villa. My son just turned 20. He's an agent there. He's doing well.
I've got their number over those.
Yeah, but very investor friendly, so that's the key, good training. And when you call those people, let's say Mark gets a list in Waterford of distressed homeowners that are in foreclosure, tax sale. You don't call them and say, hey, you're in foreclosure or tax sale. You just call them and say, hey, my name's Todd, my son and I, we're investors. We're trying to do this investor thing. I don't know if it's gonna make it, but we're just looking to buy another house in the next, 10, 20, 30 days, just trying to see if you're just not trying to be a robot and say the same thing, something a little bit different.
So our first email to him was, I was gonna say, a good way that if you'd like to come join a real estate investors club, and my name's Mark Mopp, and I've learned this business the hard way. I've been through foreclosure, because they are, right? And it's all true, I have been, and I know what it's like to get that notice on your mailbox, and you think everybody in the world knows it. So I'm talking about that, and then I talk about, but since then, out of this stuff happening, I've bought and sold 3,500 homes, and one of the best ways to exit properties is to do a rent to own, and we have a way to put the tenant at risk. And I have a person that I work with, his name's Eddie, and he knows how to do that. And by the way, he is one of the best listers of properties and has one of the best success records I've seen. So I'm like telling him that. Now next week it might be a different email from a different person. But the point is to try to get their attention to something they would actually look at. Because the truth of the matter is when you are in foreclosure, you have lost your mind. I was speaking for myself. I mean, I was a real estate investor in foreclosure in Bloomfield Hills, and I honestly couldn't think straight, And I had all kinds of things. First of all, it was my wife. That was like her pride, and that was her home, and she'd always wanted. So it was like, there's all kinds of stuff in play. So you're not dealing with an emotionally stable person. So you have to just keep speaking to them until they can hear something. And so you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and exactly. Same thing. Talk to them on the phone, looking to buy another house,
And you can just tell them the truth, this is what's gonna happen. Like I could do that, say, here's what's gonna happen. This is how much time you've got, you can list the house, is probably the best thing you could do. So you're giving them the right answers of what they really need to do. And you want to position yourself as an investor that you win no matter what, because if Todd buys it, I win. If Eddie lists it, I win. So whatever their solution is best for them, like their time's up and they just need to get some quick cash, so whatever that solution is, I win. So it's about, so you're gonna need to get a real estate license, that's what I'm really saying. So if you really want to play the game. Okay, so then how you get a buyer's list, right? You got a deal put together, but now you still want your own buyer's list, so you're gonna go to the Renegade meeting or all the real estate clubs to get as many buyers as you can. Now, there's a guy at Renegade that'll stand up and he'll tell you that I have an incredible list, and I'll send your deal out. If somebody buys it, you owe me $500. And that's not a bad way to do it. Then you've got people like Todd, I go to, that he knows everybody, so he's a good source. But then you can create your own list by going to a site called Fiverr, F-I-V-E-R-R. Does anybody use Fiverr in the room? F-I-V-E-R-R. And you go there for the yellow pages, and you can pay to have the yellow pages scraped for a really low dollar, $6. They'll probably scrape 5,000 names. And you want to scrape for all of the real estate agents. So if you're going to be working Detroit and Southeast Michigan, I want you to scrape, and that's going to give you a list of their phone number and their email and their name and their address. Scrape for all the real estate brokers, scrape for all the mortgage people, scrape for all the party store owners, because they're all buying, scrape for all the builders. You see the list, you're starting to look for people that would be buying properties. So now you end up with 10,000 people on your email list that you can email out to. If you can't email out to them, talk to me, I've got a system that can email them. If you, then I can also text blast them. But text blasting, it's how you acquire their name. There's some trickiness to this stuff, so you gotta follow all the right rules. Or you gotta use a system that's offshore. So, but then you can, tell me, do you ever not read a text blast to you, or text? Read most of them, right? So.
And then there's Facebook group pages all over the place. There's a site called Bigger Pockets Pro Member. You can market your properties. There's Connectors Investors is free, and you can market your properties. Craigslist.
In our meetup, you send it out to 4,000.
His meetup.
5,000 plus people. So free resources in our market.
So would the counties have developed more restrictions? Because I would say when I was here, maybe last year, I saw many more signs of cash houses,
Yeah.
we buy houses, but I have not seen them as readily as I did last year. So is the county stricter, or they got?
Probably, yeah.
Well, it's back to where you place the signs,
Yeah.
like,
They might got,
they might tell you how to put them into the burbs or somewhere you don't think you can put them. You can put them on the same party store lots. If I'm gonna be working like out, I'll do the service drives along US 23. Tons of traffic going on. They have stop signs. They have to stop. It's all farmland. Signs on the poles. So I'm now out in more rural area. So.
then some people put them on a Friday and pick them up on a Sunday.
Yeah, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of strategies.
And if you see other signs, you're probably safe to put them where the other signs are.
Smaller signs do not get as many calls. Like you have like I used to just get the small signs, then we ran tests on it. So that's the bigger signs get the calls. So wholesaling is, again, is you got to find an incredibly good deal and be able to sell it to frugal people, so. And I'm a firm believer about having control, not ownership. So how do I have control over a property? Is when they write the purchase agreement, I've got a cajillion clauses in it that tie it up. So like, I have the ability on my inspection clause, I can tie it up for like 6 months, not on inspection, I'm sorry, on the, being able to set the closing. Because I have it set that I can, if they have to, that I'll close subject to my lender's specifications and all this stuff, but it allows me all kinds of extra time. My purchase agreement looks like anybody else's purchase agreement. My purchase agreement, let's say that I got somebody, I walk in and he gets these deals, people just want to sign, they'll want to sign the house off, right? So, now, if I give him a deed to my house and he records it, he's liable for that property from if I go over there and slip and fall. So if you know anybody that's bought a house and just put in their name like that, let me know so I can go slip and fall. So I can see him. But so you see, got liability. So you're not going to record the deed. But in the purchase agreement, it says that I can file a claim of interest against the property. So I'm going to record the claim of interest on the property. So now what have I done by recording that in the county? I've clouded the title so nobody else can go around me. So earlier you talked about a house that you had under contract and somebody went around you, but they couldn't close on the house because they had to pay him off. So he showed up at the closing to pick up his $3,000. So I had all kinds of properties when we were really rocking and rolling in this. I was doing a lot of property on a wholesale basis. But 10 years later, I was getting calls from the title company saying, I have a claim of interest filed against this property. We need to get the payoff. Because people went around it, and they didn't do the title work, or they didn't do it right, but eventually it caught up. So what was my answer and what the payoff was? The payoff is anything below what it's like worth suing over. So if it would cost you $10,000 to sue somebody to remove it, then the payoff could be as high as $7,500. In my case, I usually just tell them $2,500. I legitimately do that money, but I can't even remember the deal. So here's the thing about file a claim of interest against the property. You need to take your purchase agreement and scan it and put it into the cloud, Google or somewhere. Because if you don't have, you have to have the written consent to file a claim of interest. If you don't have that signed purchase agreement, you have slandered their title. And I lost purchase agreements. I know what it is to be sued for slander of title and not be able to prove it. It was $4,000. That's what it cost me. And I wrote a check out the other side plus paid the attorney. Plus the judges screwed that. So you need to have the legal right. So you got to control the paperwork.
I have a question. I was watching a webinar, and this gentleman, this happened in New York. This gentleman had a contract signed on a piece of property and called the man up the next day and said he wanted to cancel it because he found another investor that was going to give him more money. And he said, no, we're not doing that. This is a legal property. And he said the guy couldn't sell it because he went and filed the piece of paper at the court. So what was in that contract? He won it. It took 2 years.
The contract has to have the clause in it that says you have the right to file. The buyer has the right to file a claim of interest against the property.
And that's
They're giving
what he
written permission to be able to file it.
Okay.
If you don't have that, in Michigan, it's not good for you as an investor.
I had one this summer that was in the Jefferson Chalmers area, a nice neighborhood, fix and flip. And same thing, the owner was selling it. and had it under contract, getting ready to close. And then all of a sudden, he went dark. And then I seen the same deal from another wholesaler pitching it out. And then I knew the wholesaler, so I called him. He's a friend. And he said, look, he sold it to me. I said, yeah, I had this for a couple weeks. And so I could have fought it. And I filed a claim of interest for sure. And I could have fought it, but I knew the guy. So I said, listen, this is where I have it at. And he had it at, I think he had it a little bit more, of course, because the guy wanted more money. And I talked to the guy, his attorney called me and everything else. He said, listen, we have a deal, we're ready to close, and this is a binding contract, you know. So before I called the guy back, I went and filed a claim of interest. I usually don't do a claim of interest right away. I just, you know, but if I smell something, I go and file it. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna be filing one on something else. Anyway, so I just made a deal, and my guy he wanted to buy it really for himself to flip it. So I think he paid us $5,000 or $6,000. You know, we could have flipped it and made $30,000 or $40,000, but.
So we did like 3 hours of how to fill out a purchase agreement, how to negotiate the purchase agreement, all the forms you need to have, and if you're interested, that video is on the 27 monthly meetup. But I'll send you the buyer favorable purchase agreement. At the bottom of it says BF, means buyer favorable, don't use it when you're selling something. And it gives you all the clauses you want, and I'll send you the claim of interest. So we'll send over 10 minutes, yeah. Okay, so free resource in our market is Mark Mappin YouTube channel. I've got tons of videos on there from beginning to end that are good advice things. Wholesaling, talking about why do wholesale. It's because you don't have any money at risk. It's a way to learn the business. As a wholesaler, so you're a problem solver. You need money now. You need the money you gotta
Pay for your gas.
Pay for your gas, and your time's worth money. Network. Oh, if you want a list of the REO agents, there's a site called REO Network. They list all the BPO agents and REO agents in a given market. Because they advertise there to the asset managers, that's where the asset manager goes to find them. I'm an entirely non-linear person. I don't follow these structures. Benefits of wholesaling from cash needed, close fast. I don't know, it's where you want to start. Types of sellers we want. Oh, death, divorce, destruction, don't wanters. You only want to deal with one kind of seller, a don't wanter. So one time I was in a house in Pontiac. It's a great house. The lady was there with her daughter. She says, I just went out of this house now. And the reason she wanted out now is because her husband was in prison for raping her daughter in that house. So everybody, there's different reasons for that. I had a house once where I went and the water was running out of the windows, the basement windows, because the previous tenant stopped a rag in the drain and broke the water pipe off and the basement filled up with water. It had goldfish that was falling out of the furnace and stuff. All the paint was peeling off the ceiling. Went into a house one time, the entire basement had like a dump truck load of sand, where the lady had a dump truck dumped sand in her basement, so she had a permanent litter box for the 20 cats she had. So that was like, you go outside, bang your head against the wall because of the smell in your head. And that was actually a mistake. I couldn't get the kid. Even though I used stain kill everywhere, house still smelled like cats.
Yeah.
So you just gotta find a real cat lover. I bought a house one time and it was a 30% risk, you know. So the only buyers for that was a drunk sailor or a mountain climber. Yeah. But I did find somebody to live there. You had to nail the furniture to the floor to keep going that away.
And you get a lot of investors that are buying your deals, or I do, and they'll, you know, and I don't know if they're inexperienced, or they always ask me, why aren't they listing it? Why are they selling it? Why are they? I said, it shouldn't matter to you. you want it or not? I figured that out. Now I got it under contract because I know those answers. And you don't want to sell a bad deal to anybody. You won't go very far. So
New investors are out chasing people that aren't motivated sellers. Manicured yards. That stay away from that. So in other words, you have to go find ugly houses with motivated sellers. That's really the name of the game. So, and that's what you're looking for when you're driving for dollars. You're looking for deferred maintenance, weeds growing, So examples of motivated divorce, probate. So you need to probate attorneys, tired landlords. You can go to a city like Pontiac, you can do a Freedom of Information Act on them, and they'll give you a list of all the landlords. So you're looking for landlords, you're looking for tired landlords. If you know a bailiff at the district court, the minute a person is evicting a tenant, when you're evicting a tenant, you're a lot more motivated than when the house is full and flowing. So you're looking for those kinds of people. So if you can get relationships with the court, you can find stuff. Foreclosure. In the state of Michigan, there's mortgage foreclosures, and then there's a thing called a forfeiture. So if you sell a house on a land contract, you can forfeit on it. But you can, if you find those deals, you can take over the person that's doing the forfeiture position, or you can get the person who's being forfeited on and just catch up the payments. So asset managers we talked about, already owned, it's real estate owned. Motivated, we talked about it, so that's their normal objective is to get out. So how are you going to generate leads? I'm going to go through this really quick. I had a relationship with bailiffs at the district court because worn out landlords, they can point them out to you. You want to go to court clerks, they control everything, so you want to have a relationship with them. Funeral homes, people are dying to get out of property. The mailman knows everything. The mailman knows when somebody's got a serious problem. So if you can develop a relationship with the mailman, that's great. If you're our mail lady, if you're a guy, you can marry him. If you're a woman, you can marry the mail guy. Whatever, you just need to develop a relationship with them.
Or if someone's gay, they could marry him too.
Yeah. People in this room are good resource attorneys, looking for attorneys that handle foreclosures, divorces. There's a certain attorney, probate attorney, code enforcement. I used to get great deals in the city from Pontiac because the local councilman could pull a house off the demolition list. I had a relationship with the local council. So now I find a house that's been ordered demolished, go to the hearing. I get that house for nothing. Go to the councilman, get my building permit, and I'm off to the races. Fireman, the tax assessor, in Pontiac used to have his own tax assessor, and I had a relationship. He knew everything that was going on. I could get deals through him, water department clerk. I had a relationship with the water department clerk. So these people owe $10,000 in their water bill. So there's, you could, public adjuster, there's about 168 public adjusters in the state of Michigan. If you have an insurance claim, you can hire a public adjuster to represent you against the insurance company. Insurance company's going to instantly appoint a public adjuster, and the two of them are going to negotiate a settlement. When I had a house that I had a tenant in, and there was police busted in, there was a person shot, blood, the police kicked and broke everything in the house. I filed a vandalism claim at the police department. They're the ones that did the damage. And I contacted a public adjuster. If you're an investor and you buy properties, you always want to use a public adjuster. Because the minute you use your insurance company, they're going to have you come out and they're going to have you sign a form which allows them to investigate everything about your past. You don't realize you're doing that. And a public adjuster is going to stop all that. A public adjuster on a vandalism claim for me would max out the house. If I had a $20,000 insurance policy, he would give me $20,000. Because then the insurance company would appoint a public adjuster. My public adjuster would say, already got the whole thing wrote up, let's go to the restaurant, let me buy you lunch, or whatever. And he represented me, just like an attorney represents you. He got 10% of the settlement. And it was a really good deal. And you've ever used a public adjuster? To get you out of trouble?
Yep.
To make you money or get the house paid off?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you can call me if you need one. I can give you one that is like really nasty guy, but I never could find anybody better to represent me. I'm glad you gave his name. He's not the most friendly person in the world. Real estate agents like REO, PTO, owners of charities, they get properties donated to them to develop relationships. Asset managers we talked about, auctioneers, contractors that work for you. I'm positive Todd buys a lot of houses through his contractors. BPO agents, driving for dollars, vacant properties, Craigslist. Todd does a whole training thing on how you can take Craigslist leads and turn them into deals. FSBO, for sale by owner, expired listings. When I was really rocking and rolling, I was buying a ton of stuff out of the MLS. I had a money partner. He would put the money up on anything I wanted to buy. He would buy it with me. He was 50% of the deal, but I would be chasing through the multi-list and finding places that were distressed and put deals together. And the multi-list would say handyman special, probate, foreclosure. And I had no problem making 50 offers a week. I would piss so many realtors off. They would call me up and say, "You are a no good son of a bitch. We're never going to sell you this property." 6 months later, they would call back and say, "Is your offer still good?" So, sheriff's sale, tax sale, auctions. Todd is a walking expert when it comes to auctions, tax auctions. You need to talk to him. Because every week, where do you go?
Wayne County auction, Oakland County,
Okay.
Genesee
I know,
County.
I'll wrap it up. List. To buy a list, where would you go?
List Source or Villa.
Yeah, the lady we were talking about. Postcards, they were, so if you're gonna get a real estate license, I recommend one of two places. Either Michigan Institute Real Estate, that's the Weir Charge, they got offices in Southfield, Livonia. And the other place would be, oh crap, where was the?
Name's Michelle.
Middleton Real Estate School, that's another good one. If I was a brand new investor, I would go to Bella, and that's her name, Maureen, and I would go meet with her. She's also the one that has the list that we were talking about. So in real estate, you as an investor, and you get a real estate license, you can't like work for a major brand real estate company. You have to find investor-friendly real estate companies where other investors are hanging out, or that they have REO agents or BPO agents and that. That's exactly what this is. Now, you can do major listings. Bill's a major company, and they do a lot of listings of residential properties. But you can get the best of both worlds. Plus, she does training, she's knowledgeable, and it's a really good place to get a license. So I highly recommend talking to her. She usually comes to the meetings. She's at a church board meeting tonight. And that's a 27 monthly meetup. So it's a good value, and I think that's it. So if you have value out of tonight, maybe you can tell somebody about it, and we can stick. We have to be out of here by 9, or they can come and, he's waiting for us out there. Yeah, so make sure you thank me for the school. But that's all we got. So did you guys get some value?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for coming. We're done.